So we are in the process of learning all the management tools. So as I was telling you, management tools is very important because this it's one thing to know technically what you need to know in order to perform well. The other thing is management aspect is very important. So JIRA is a wonderful work management tool that helps developers and testers track their activities on a daily basis. So when I say developers and testers, it is a generic tool. It is not something that is built exclusively for testers. So if it comes to that, JIRA is not even a tool that is built exclusively for IT industry, professionals. It's actually built for anybody who needs to manage their work. So this is a very good tool for people who handle service requests. This is also a very good tool for help desk requests and all that, and I'll show you how. There are a few things that we talked about, the architecture of the tools, the different kinds of users and all that yesterday. So I'll quickly take a minute to reiterate that in terms of JIRA also. And today we will also take a quick peek into the admin module and project management, user management activities that administrators normally perform. However, in the real time, we might not play the role of an administrator often, but the chance that we will not be an administrator is also, you cannot take that completely away as well. So it's better to be equipped and, know at least a little bit of a background information on how admins function, so that if need be, we can adapt and, be able to do that operation as well. And to actually, to begin with, JIRA is a wonderful medium to get started on that. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. So we are going to look at the user module. And in the user module also there are various things in JIRA. So there's Agile, there's Service Desk, there's, Confluence and all that integration. So we'll talk about what all of them are and, how do they integrate and all of that. Now, I do have a big, a lot of text in this screenshot, in this slide here. It's probably, telling us about what incident management system is, but I'll just send this out to you all in an email and you can read about it. We'll just, keep the class in a discussion mode as much as we can. So as I was saying, we'll reiterate a few things what we talked about yesterday. Number one, whenever you're trying to learn a new tool, do not focus on the features of the tool first. Of course, that is going to come later on, but the first point of focus is the core process that the tool is trying to help us with. So yesterday's case, when we were discussing Bugzilla, the tool is not trying to teach us defect management, but when you are performing defect management, the tool definitely helps us in easing up the process. Similarly, so that's what I mean. Understand the core process, learn it thoroughly, understand when a certain status has to be set, understand when we need to estimate few things, why do we even need a screenshot, what kind of attachments can we provide. So know the core process very, very well. So in that context, JIRA's core process is incident management. Sounds pretty abstract to me, at least when I hear it for the first time. So we'll try and dissect this and see what it really means. The second thing I would recommend doing is read about the tool, read about the software on a very non-technical platform like Wiki. Now, I'm not promoting Wiki in any way, but when you look at Wiki, it is for audience who may or may not be, software professionals. So this is for general audience. So when something is written for general audience, the immediate assumption is, of course, the obvious assumption in that case is that it is written in a non-technical way. So there is a difference when people tell you that JIRA is an incident management tool and when they actually take the time to elaborate and tell you what it is and what it does. So that kind of explanation, if you're trying to self-learn a tool, it's something that you might get from a neutral source like Wikipedia. So go ahead and take a look at that. Try to understand the gist of, what it is and what it does and, just to get a general idea of what that is. And the third thing is try to understand how it implements the said process. So yesterday when we were talking about defect management process in the context of Bugzilla, how does it implement this? So Bugzilla will let you, submit a bug. So to submit a bug or file a bug it provides you with a form with different fields, and then when you submit a bug, it provides you with an ID. You can browse through it in the product and components, or you can search for it. So there is a way in which Bugzilla implements the defect management process. So try and understand how the software on hand is going to implement whatever process that this tool is supposed to satisfy. So in our case, right now today, the process that JIRA helps us with is incident management. So JIRA is a tool by the company Atlassian. JIRA does not stand for, it's not an acronym for anything, which means there's no expansion for JIRA. It's just JIRA. It's an incident management software, so learn a little bit more about that and then see how incident management is implemented via JIRA. So we'll see all that going forward. And as always, JIRA is a 3-tiered architectured application, and JIRA comes in 2 versions. One is called the on-demand or the cloud version, and the second one is on-premise or host, the one that we have to host it, you host. This is called a you host or something like that. We'll check it out anyways. That's a kind of a version. So what this means is, in the on-demand version, Atlassian, the company which develops JIRA, is going to provide us with a database and the middle layer, the server layer as a cloud. And all you have to do is choose a URL for your client, and you can access this through a web-based URL. So browser-based software system, and you can be up and running in as little as 10 minutes. So this is the on-demand or the cloud version. The other version clearly is where you will have to install the client, server, and database in your system and power it. So this is easy to set up. I mean, if there is any enhancement that JIRA makes, you don't have to install the updates in the cloud version. However, for large-scale companies, cloud is not recommended because it takes a lot of network overhead, and also security is compromised and things like that. So there are definite advantages and disadvantages to both of them, and when it boils down, it is just a matter of choice on what you want to go with. So this is about the architecture of JIRA. The next thing with JIRA is that it has, again, as I was saying, admin and the user module. So we'll take a look at both today. It is a commercial software, so unlike yesterday, it is not open source. You will have to pay to be able to use JIRA. But having said that, it is very affordable, one of the most affordable software systems that you will have that are available in the market, software products that are available in the market. So it's very, very easy to use. I mean, it's team, can you hear me? Okay. Solely try to see for the next few minutes. If it's not working out, just log off and try to come back in. That might fix the issue. Sorry about that. So it is a commercial software, which means you will have to buy the license for it. And the core JIRA is just an incident management software. Now let's talk a little bit about what incident management software is. See, all these management software systems that you're seeing, they are managing work basically. And work, yesterday when we were talking about defect management software, the work, which is a generic term, attains the specific defect related work when we are talking about a software like Bugzilla. So we are managing work, but the specific kind of work that we are managing is pertaining to defects if we are looking at Bugzilla. Similarly, JIRA is also work management software, and this work in this case is incident. I mean, in our case, in the case of Bugzilla, when we say defect, we understand exactly what we're talking about. But when we are saying incident, this is still generic for us. So incident in the context of a software development, is kind of an environment, refers to developmental tasks, enhancements, requirements that need to be built, other miscellaneous tasks like reviewing and planning a testing, or any other task, that needs to be performed in a software project, that becomes an incident. And then bugs, clearly, or defects. So JIRA helps us track incidents, which is nothing but pieces of work, and these pieces of work can be any of these. So if you are looking at a software development project kind of an environment. But this incident takes the shape of leaves. Say, for example, a company uses JIRA to manage all the leaves that their employees are taking. So every leave in that case becomes an incident. Or in other case, the JIRA is also used by help desk people a lot. So every time you make a call to the help desk, they will create an incident against your complaint and they will resolve it in a certain time, in which case they'll close the incident. So in that way, the help desk service requests, or the help desk requests that are coming in, they are also incidents. So JIRA is a tool that is not exclusively for software development projects, it is for everybody. But since we are in, a part of the software development projects, we are going to look at incidents that belong to this category. Those are developmental tasks, enhancements, requirements, tasks, bugs, or defects. So JIRA at its core is a work management software. The work is generically, or the way in which work is addressed inside JIRA, in the context of JIRA, is that it's called an incident. And incident can be any work that you're doing in the software development system. It can be tasks, requirements, bugs, or defects also. Now, having said that, all the other type of these incidents are not very relevant to the QAs. I mean, development tasks, requirements, enhancements, I mean, it's a good thing that, it helps the other teams manage them. But coming to us, specifically to the QA teams, we really don't have a lot to do with that. So the real incidents that we QAs are concerned with are creating of the bugs and the tasks. So these are the two areas that we are going to work on. So I'll show you, how that happens and all that. So the first part of it, what is the process that JIRA helps us with is, incident management. Right. The next thing that we will talk about is how does it implement it. So yes, I was telling you how Bugzilla implements defect management. So it will let you submit a bug, then it will create you an ID. You can search for it. You can do so and so activities on that. Similarly, how does JIRA implement the incident management process? So this is JIRA's implementation model. It has three core concepts here. So I think this is a better diagram to show you. So JIRA has project, issue, and workflow. These are three things that are at its very core. So let's talk about what issue is first. So again, as I was telling you, issues are incidents, and that's how, so it is an incident management tool, and issues are called as incidents within JIRA. So issue is basically any piece of work that needs to be created, tracked, and eventually completed. Right? So at its core are the issues. So everything is an issue. Requirements are an issue. Tasks are an issue that needs to be addressed. Defects are an issue. So within JIRA, everything is an issue, but there exist these subtypes to categorize them. Right? And the second thing is project. So projects will have things like components and versions. So this is something we understood yesterday already. So if the project is Car Guruji, we have the admin module, dealer module, those will become the components, and then version 1, version 2, the release numbers will become the version numbers. Now what is project, component, and version? It is a way to categorize these issues. So the first 10 requirements belong to Car Guruji, admin module, version 1.0. So this is a way to categorize these issues. So this is a way to actually organize your issues depending on the subject, depending on the task, or the component or the project that is being worked on. And then workflow. Workflow is something, that is very simple to understand. See, every issue that gets created within any work management system, or for example, if you're starting to write a document, okay? Now, a document does not just conjured up from, next to nothing, correct? There has to be a certain amount of work that needs to go into it for it to be completed. So a document writing process would have briefly, you start writing the document, you keep writing it, so this will be in progress while you're writing it. You might actually decide to review it before you finalizing it, and then you're done. So everything from start to finish has certain intermediary stages. And if at least in a software project situation, if we do not track the intermediary phases, it is very hard to say from start to stop. It is very hard to get that level of transparency on what is happening into the system at what point of time. So that is why workflows are very important. So in the context of a defect, a workflow is nothing but a bug life cycle. So it does not necessarily mean that only bugs have different statuses. Even requirements have different statuses. Initially, the requirement might be in the being analyzed mode, and then the requirement might be in being developed mode, and then it might be something that's developed, ready to test. So different statuses. Every work that you're tracking will have these different statuses, and that is the concept of workflow. So if you have to just break it down, every task, every activity into 3 broad categories, you would have an open stage, work in progress, and a closed stage. But this is very, very generic in nature, just to give you an idea of the concept of workflow. So in JIRA, there's project, issue, and workflow. Projects are further categorized into components and versions. So this is, I think we have enough background information to actually see the tool now. Before that, any questions? Are you all with me so far, team? Okay. Sounds good. And I see your question on maintenance and operation testing, Tina. We'll take that at the end. Okay. Let me show you from the very beginning. So the module that we are going to first look at is the user module, not the admin module. So again, user, as we talked about yesterday, users can be clients, users can be project managers, business analysts, developers, testers. So users are anybody within a software project. So it doesn't have to be confused that users have to be QAs or anything like that. No. And then administrators may or may not be QAs, but they play a much significant role. So JIRA is a web-based tool, as I was telling you, and it is controlled by a user ID and password. And I'll send out a user ID and password with an email today, so you can practice for the next few days. So once I log in, the very first thing that you will see in JIRA is the the dashboard. This is like the very first page of when you log in. Again, I would highly recommend that you download the JIRA's user guide and keep it as a reference, because there is no other way to learn a tool in and out as you would normally go through a user guide. So it's pretty comprehensive. Keep a copy of it even though you're not going to work on it immediately. Now this dashboard is completely customizable. So what the dashboard is I would say, if I have to compare this to something in a real life, I would say this is like the front page of a newspaper, because this will tell you what's going on, give you a glimpse of what you can expect from the entire content of the newspaper and things like that. So here it is telling you if there are any issues that were assigned to you. As soon as you log in, it will immediately show you what those issues are. And if your administrator, when they create your ID, they will add you to few projects. They'll add you to few projects so that you'll be able to participate in issue creation or whatever you need to do in that project. So So whatever projects that you have access to, if anything is going on, if work is being going on any issues, it will immediately show you in the activity stream. So as in when we go, this page will change and I will be able to show you much more information, but dashboard is like the front page. So this is where it will tell you if any issues are assigned to you, what activity has been going on in the team, or if you want to customize this in order to put in graphs and charts on the dashboard, you can do that by going to manage my dashboard and going and adding different elements to your front page. So this is to enhance the reporting facility and to actually customize it and to see it in any way that you see fit. Again, one more point of advice is none of the tools will try to hide any options that they have from its users. So use that to our advantage and work your way through all of these tabs. And that's how I learned QTP, because unless I learned QTP, I wasn't allowed to work on it, and I didn't know how else to do that. So I just worked on each and every menu item, worked all the way through it, and at the end of it you kind of end up learning the entire system basically. So that's helpful. I think that's a helpful tip for you all. And always pay special emphasis to those options that are highlighted. So here you see the create option stands out in comparison to everything else. I don't think I like the color scheme anymore, because usually this used to be blue and out there right in front of me, but this time JIRA has given me an option to choose a color and I chose gray, so it kind of dulls out. But at its core you can see that create is something that stands out apart from all the other options. So whatever is it that stands out, like for yesterday, if you see, file a bug was the very first option right there in the middle of the screen, big and huge. Similarly, whatever is the core functionality of this software tool or any other software tool, that will be always in a highlighted fashion. So let's get started and create an issue first. Issues are the central thing in JIRA. What is feature request? Where was that? I'm not sure. Did I say something about it, or did you see it somewhere on my screen? It's in create. Okay. So yeah, let me show you. So when I click on create, it will, so here I can create an issue basically. As I was telling you, issue can be anything. But then every issue, JIRA's core, one of the mandatory restrictions that JIRA sets on its users is that every issue that gets created, it needs to be assigned to at least one project. So all the projects that you have access to will be displayed here. So you can either choose STH September batch or STH sample, depending on whatever project you want to assign this to. So once you do that, you can create this issue as a new feature or an improvement, enhancement request, or a task or a bug. So right now I'm going to log it as a bug. So as you were saying, feature means new feature, improvement is a request, enhancement request. So that's what the tooltip was saying. And then if you need more information, just click on the question mark next to it, and it will give you a lot of readily accessible, readable, very, very insightful content that you can go ahead and read and get a lot of clarifications on. So please use that to your advantage. If you're not able to read that right now, before the license expires, just go ahead and copy and paste that, keep it in a Word document. You can read it later on. Now the summary of a bug is similar to what we normally do. 1 or 2 line concise definition of what is going wrong with the system. So if I have to raise a bug here, I would say contact us page does not have any contact details. So this is for the Car Guruji application. And then priority. Now we talked about how priority is something that developers set. So do you think we should be setting this or just leaving it alone, team? What do you think? Do we set it, yes or no? Yes, because One limitation that JIRA definitely has is it does not provide separate priority and severity fields, because we have to be very understanding of the creators who built JIRA, because they were not targeting at building JIRA for just testers. So this is a similar way issues are created across all kinds of work that is managed. So we will have to choose a value that is representative of both the severity and priority, um, to a maximum extent. I mean, to the extent possible, we have to choose an appropriate value that is representative of both severity and priority here. But JIRA does not have a separate severity, separate priority column. So this might be slightly confusing to at least new testers, because we have talked in the class on how priority is set by the developers. But here it doesn't work that way. You will have to make do with what options you have available. Again, if you need help in understanding the fields, use the question, thing. And then here you can set it as major, blocker, critical, minor, trivial. And these values are also, whatever values are appearing in the drop-down, these are also customizable by your administrator. And if you want to set a due date on it, you can do that. But again, for issues, due date setting by the testers is not it doesn't make a lot of sense, so we are not going to do that. This project does not have any components, does not have any versions or anything. That's why these fields are coming up empty. But going forward, when we deal with the admin module, we'll create a project with components and affected versions so we can see how these fields work. And you can assign this to any user. So I'll just assign it to myself. You can provide environment information if that is relevant to you, and use the description column to enter the steps to reproduce. Do not forget the expected and actual result again, and you can estimate work here if you want to do that. This again is confusing because we are not the right people to estimate how much time it should take for a bug to get fixed. So during creation of a bug, the QAs are generally not recommended, or it is not expected from a QA team to fill in these fields. So leave them empty. You can attach a screenshot. And then you can provide labels. Label is an informal way of organizing your issues. Let's say I want to get a list of all the issues that I raise. So I'll just create a new label Swati, and next time I search for the label Swati, all the issues that I have created will come up. So this is an informal way of labeling, and this is similar to those blogs which have labels. So for example, on our blog, if you just click on the label manual testing, all the articles related to manual testing will come up. So this is an informal categorizing way, and you can use that. And JIRA, right now, if this project is agile and this issue was linked to a certain epic is nothing but a collection of user stories. You can assign the epic, but right now it doesn't make sense. If it belongs to a particular sprint, you can assign it to a particular sprint. Again, it doesn't make sense in this case, so you can just create the issue with what we have right now. Again, you have an option here to have all these fields, or remove the ones that you don't want to appear on your screen. For example, if I'm creating a bug, I don't want to see the due date fields because I don't have to fill that. So I can just go to custom and just choose the ones that I want to fill, and that's it. I'll just if I just choose the only fields that I want to see, I can do that. At any point of time, I'm free to add and remove as I'd like. So I can just create an issue, or I can choose to, if I check this option on, when I create this, my current issue will get created and I'll still be in this page. But on the other hand, if I don't check this on, this page will close and then the current issue will still get created. So right now my issue is created, and please note that my issue ID is SS-1. So I'll explain why it's called SS-1, but in the meantime, let me create another issue real quick and show you how it works when I don't check the create another option. So I'm going to create a task now, and let's say this task is peer review. peer review of the test case documentation. So how important is this task? I would say, is there a medium? I would say major. I'll assign this to the test user. It's my document and I'm just sending it to the test user to review. I'll just say, please review the document attached. And I need the attachment field. I'll attach the document. Some document. And then I haven't clicked on the create another option. I'll just do the create, and the create issue window closes up, but a new issue is created with the ID SS_2. So the ID tells us that the issues are numbered on a serial number basis. But what is SS? SS is a prefix that's called the key for every project. No, it's not my name. SS is a key for every project, and once the project is created, every project gets assigned a key value, and all the issues that become part of that particular project will have the prefix that is the key for that project. So STH sample, I think it took the first numbers or first letters from each part of the name of this project, but this is something that the administrator can change if they need to. But once the administrator sets it on a project, we have no option but to use it the way it comes. We cannot change that, right? So this is how you would create an issue. Then we have seen the dashboard. You can view the system dashboard at any point of time. We've viewed that already. So let's view it again. So you see, this issue is assigned to me, and this is all the activity that has been going on the projects that I have access to. So from time to time, the dashboard will show you the latest update of what's going on. And if you need to browse all the projects that are that you have access to, so all the projects that you have access to, only those you will see in the projects menu. You can go ahead and watch them here. So let's take a look at what information you can see here. So this is the STH sample. It is just quickly giving you a graph of how has the issues been raised to it and what's happening with it. If you want to take a look at all the issues that are raised, you can go ahead and see that here. If you want to see the ones that are resolved recently, you can apply that filter and look at that. So no issues were resolved yet. Different reports can be generated: average age report, timesheet report, workload report, time tracking report. So let's just generate one and I'll show you. So let me find a better. We don't have a lot of data, that's why it's not coming up. Recently created issues report. So this shows on each day how many reports were created. So I mean how many issues were created. Only today there were 2 issues, so that's why it's showing that 2 issues were created. So lots of reports are generated on a project level very easily and very simply. But that's what you can use the projects menu for. And then in the issues menu, you can view all of these issues. If you want to import the issues, so if you've been using, say, an Excel sheet so far to maintain your bugs, and if you want to bring in all the bugs into JIRA, you can actually, do that with the help of uploading a CSV file. Of course, the CSV file has to be in the right format, otherwise it won't do the upload. But if you need to do that, if you want to create all your bugs in an Excel sheet and import them all into here at one point of time, you can choose to do that with this option. Agile is available only if you are trying to, only if you have the JIRA Agile add-in. Now this is a neat feature of JIRA. JIRA is something that is light, I would say. It is very, very light. What I mean is the incident management system is what comes in the core JIRA. So far whatever activities we've seen, that's the incident management system, and that is what is part of core JIRA. But having said that, you can expand JIRA's functionality by bringing in different add-ins. So you can get an agile add-in, you can get a service desk add-in, you can get an add-in called Zephyr. So there are lots of millions of add-ins to JIRA actually. So if you get the JIRA agile add-in to your core JIRA, then you can manage your agile projects as well. So right now I do have the agile add-in, so that's why you're seeing this agile menu. Otherwise you wouldn't see it. So if I get the service desk add-in, then I will see another menu called service desk in my core JIRA. So core JIRA is customizable. You can start with what you need and keep adding as you go forward. So that's how JIRA will make its license is very affordable. So if you're just going for JIRA for 10 users for a month, let me take you to the page itself. So there are two versions I was saying. One is cloud and one is server, where you will have to host it. See, if you just buy JIRA, it's just $10 a month, the simple issue tracking. JIRA Agile, if you add it, it is 20. If you add JIRA Service Desk, it's another 20. Zephyr is a test management add-in. So you can just add as you like and keep it light in terms of, see, as in when you add more add-ins, the tool itself, the software itself becomes heavy, and then the cost of course becomes difficult to bear. So this is not a tool that has everything and makes you pay for all of it. You can just pay for what you need. I think that is really, really neat, and that's why most new companies are very, very positive about JIRA basically. So yeah, that's about issue creation, but let's take a look at what happens when what can we do on the issues that we've created. So are these new features that can be added in? Yeah, these are called add-ins. That means additional features. I wouldn't say new. These are additional features that can be added to the core JIRA. So let's start with an issue, bug. So the first part to defect management is that defects need to get created. So that part we have done this. Let me take Emilio's question before we move further. Just a minute, team. Being JIRA an issue or incident management workflow project management application, this seems to me a software more appropriate for maintenance and support activities or help desk. Is this actually used for managing testing projects? Your observation is correct. It is something that is used for, that is better suited for help desk and everything. But is it actually used to manage testing projects? See, it can be used for managing testing projects. I'll show you how when we get to the agile part. However, it is not a core testing tool. That means it will not help us with test planning nor test designing, anything. It is still very limited when it comes to QA teams consumption. So it limits us. We are limited to only using the task or the bug, type of the issues here, because we can track some miscellaneous tasks, we can track defects. For that there is defect management tools as well, right? So if this is a tool for managing testing, so is this a tool for managing testing project as a whole? It could be. I'll show you that in a minute. A defect can be treated as an issue in JIRA, or actually defects are not actually managed here. No, bug itself is a defect actually. So one of the issue types is bug inside JIRA, which makes it a product that can be used for defect management. Does that help? Okay. So we'll wait for a few more minutes. We'll see how things go, and if you have further questions, we can definitely take that up. So this is a bug right now. This is an issue of the type bug, and if let's say we are using JIRA to track bugs right now. Now what are the things that you can do on this bug? You can edit it. Editing a bug is similar to creating a bug. The only thing that you cannot change while you're editing the bug is you cannot change the ID of the issue and you cannot change the project that this belongs to. Except those two fields, all other fields are changeable, and you can update anything basically on this. Then commenting. So you can provide a comment here. You can assign this issue to anybody. So while you are assigning, you can also provide a comment and assign it. So if this was an agile project, you will use these options, but let's not use them yet. We'll go to the agile later on. You can log work on this. That means you can say, I spent 2 hours on this. So as I was telling you yesterday, there are options where you can choose to automatically adjust. You can choose to leave the estimate unset. You can set, the remaining estimate to a certain value. You can reduce the remaining estimate. You can do any of those things. You can describe what work has been done. And then you can log the work on it. So the work that you log will appear in the time tracking section of the JIRA bug issue details. And then you can attach files, you can attach screenshot. There are two options here. That's because to attach a screenshot, all you have to do is just do a print screen and do a Control V here. That attaches the screenshot. You can do that way. If you choose the second option in attach screenshot, it will actually help us take the screenshot as well. So it will have like a camera sort of an option. You can just point to your tool. It will snip the part of your desktop that you want it to. Right now it's not doing that because I don't have a compatible Java version available on my machine. Actually I've been reluctant to download that because the Java package itself is very heavy on the resources, and that will slow down my system unnecessarily. So that's deliberately something that I haven't downloaded. But if you do download it, if you do have the right version of the Java, that it will automatically work as a snipping tool, and it will snip it for you. And then JIRA also has this cool feature called voting and watching. See, oftentimes in a software development sort of a framework, you're always interested in what is the result for a certain, on a certain issue. Let's say there is a new enhancement request. You want to know what decision has been taken. Has it been approved? People are already, have they decided to build it, or have they do they not want to build it? So you want to know what is happening. So in that case, you can become a watcher. So by default, anybody who has raised an issue is a watcher to that issue. So when you decide to be a watcher, every action that happens on this issue, whether it is an edit, whether it is adding of a comment, whether the change in who this assigned to is happening, whether work is getting logged, whether a comment is being added, anything that changes in a particular issue, that will be notified to you via an email if you decide to become the watcher. So you can stop watching at any point of time. So this I feel is a very cool feature to have in order to make sure that the team is aware of what is going on and all that. Similarly, there's another tool called Voters. Voters is, when you want to get, your an opinion on, let's say you've raised an enhancement request. You want to get an opinion from everybody to see, what they think about it. Do they have a positive response to this? Do they have a negative response to this? So you can simply send this issue information and tell them to vote on it. So right now, if I just click on it, I'll be able to vote it. I mean, since this is my issue, I'm not able to vote it. But if it were an external issue, if it was an issue created by somebody else, then I would definitely be able to vote on it. So I can go ahead and view who the voters are on this issue. Right now there are no voters, but if somebody has voted on it, you will see their information right here. Then you can convert this to a subtask. Subtask is nothing but one level down. Let's say I'm doing reviews. In the reviews, maybe there are subtasks like I have to review a test plan, I have to review a test case document by team number 1, team number 2. So all of those become my subtasks. So you can actually create a subtask, or you can convert the current issue to a subtask, all of that. Practically I have not used a lot of subtasking issue. I don't see a lot of use value to that. But then the option is available if you need to use it. Or you can move this issue to a different project. You can link this issue with another issue. You can clone this issue. You can create a copy of the exact same issue one more time. But when you clone it, the ID changes with the same description again. Or you can check the labels on it. So those are the additional things that you can do on an issue. Now workflow related things. So when you need to look at the workflow that this project is following, you can look at it. So all the issues in this project will follow this workflow. They have a to-do, that means start working on it sort of a situation. Then they move to in progress when you perform the action of starting the progress. And from the in progress they go to in review if you start reviewing it. And then they go to done. So again, this is not very relevant to bugs, correct? This is not really working as a bug tracking thing. But workflows are changeable. The administrator can actually choose the appropriate workflow that is to be followed by the project. But as a user, we do not have an option to do that. It is the administrator who sets the workflow information, and once they set it, we have to use it the way they see fit. So here, when I start progress, it will move to the next status, which is in review. Then I will set it to in progress, and then I'll set it to done if I'm done, or I can restart and start it at either the review or restart process. So this is how you can change the workflow statuses. So this is how you can use JIRA for managing all your tasks. And as Emilio was saying, this doesn't look like a core tester tool, and it isn't normally. I'll tell you the reason why, at least in my experience when I had to use JIRA. Now, as I was telling you yesterday, software companies, they don't like to buy different products for different things. So they don't want to buy one tool for developers, one tool for BAs, one tool for project managers, one for QAs. So for developers at least, JIRA is a very, very good tool because they can create all the requirements. They can actually see in the source, you can actually connect your JIRA to any of these Bitbucket or Fisheye or Stash. So these are actually your source code systems. So when the developer creates their code and checks it in, the status get automatically updated here. So the developers don't actually have to come back to JIRA and update the status. So for developers, JIRA is a very, very good work management tool because they really have to do nothing basically. They have to just connect their source code system to the JIRA system. So all those interfaces are available. If you just do that connectivity, if you just establish that connectivity, any change that happens to the code will automatically reflect in JIRA, showing us the appropriate status. So for development tasks, this is a very good tool. So when companies buy this tool for developmental tasks, they want testers to also use it in some capacity instead of going for a whole new tool altogether. So in those cases, most of the times, QAs will have to end up using JIRA for bug tracking. And when I'm saying end up using JIRA, I don't mean it in a way that, I don't mean to say that, we work really hard to, use JIRA. It's not that way. JIRA is limited. As I was telling you yesterday, do not compare apples and oranges. Don't compare JIRA. Don't expect JIRA to perform test planning because it is not built to do that. But the tasks that we can do are we can track miscellaneous review-like tasks, we can track bugs, and as far as that is concerned, we can do it pretty comfortably. So that is the extent of QA usage that you might expect when it comes to JIRA. Make sense? All right. So there are other things you can do. You can share this issue via email. Of course, there are all the notification messages that will go when you assign the issue to someone, depending on the rules that are set by your administrator. You can export this issue to an XML, Word, or a printable format. that will also ensure the portability. So to give you a quick recap, you can create issues, manage all kinds of work using JIRA. It is not something that is built exclusively for QA teams or even for that matter software companies. At the core of JIRA there are issues, there's workflows, there's projects and all that. Dashboard menu to see the progress and all that, like a highlight sort of a thing. Project menu to browse through projects. Issue menu to browse through issues. Agile we are yet to see. You can create issues and do all these activities that we were talking about. And it also generates reports. There's also a robust search functionality. But that's all there is to JIRA actually. So this is how we normally use it. Now let me quickly take you to the admin module, and then I'll show you how JIRA can be used to manage entire testing projects, especially if they are agile projects. So right now I'm logging in as an administrator. So ideally, it should take you to the dashboard page as soon as you log in, but then that's an option you can set. You can tell JIRA to take you to a certain page when you log in, and you can do that by going to manage my dashboards option, and you can set your preferences. So since I didn't set my preferences that it should take me to the dashboard, it did not earlier, but that's easily repairable. Again, as soon as the administrators log in, you will see the dashboard thing. There is a different documentation available for admins, so please keep a copy of that again. The other thing is that if you notice the main menu or anything else, it's pretty much the same. The only thing that exists in addition to the core JIRA functionalities to the administrator are the administration activities. So you can manage your projects, issues, system-related information, add-ons, user management, billing, licensing. So basically all of those things are managed by the administrators. Now this is the on-demand or the cloud version. But if you had the service, if you had the server version or the version where we are hosting, in that case the JIRA admins are also responsible for maintaining the databases. So all the activities that a regular user can do, a JIRA administrator can also do. In addition, they can do all of these other things. So you can say that administrators are super users. So in addition to the regular activities, they can do so much more. So usually, administrators do three main things. One is project management, user management, and then they also do security or access level checking and other preference setting like time zone information, language preferences, email account notifications. All of those other settings are also set by the administrator. So three major areas in which they function. Now project management will include details like project creation, deleting, updating, or any other maintenance that needs to go on this project. The admin will take care of that. And the user management part, the administrator can add users, provide access rights, assign them to projects, change these assignments, delete users if they need to, and update the properties if they need to. And setting preferences and all, that's something that we'll see in a little bit. So in the JIRA administration, if you just go to projects, it will display you all the projects that are currently available in the system. As I was saying, you can edit or delete this. But if you need to create a new project, just click on Add Project. So here it is showing you all the different types of projects that can be created. Now, With every different type of a project, there is an image associated to it. So this will briefly tell you what kind of workflow this project is going to follow. So when I say I'll just choose, a simple issue tracking project and go next, it will tell me what issue types come under that project and what kind of workflow it follows. So if I choose project management, it will show me that these are the issues that can be maintained. If I choose software development, this is what I can do. So I'll just choose the software development, select it. When I create a name, sample test project, it has automatically provided me with a key. So this is the prefix for all the issue IDs that are going to get created under this project. So I can assign a project lead. It can be the administrator themselves, or it can be a particular person they want to be the project lead. And then I submit this. My project gets created. So in the administration tab of the project that got created, I can change or manipulate all this information. I can manipulate the kind of issues that should be a part of this project. If I want to add another issue type, I can do that. If I want to remove something, I can do that. I can change the workflow that is associated to this project. So if I just go to edit, I'll be able to change anything, add new things, add transitions, add statuses. So I can just, manipulate this workflow in any way I like. And then, that final workflow will be set across all the issues that are going to get created under this project. And then I can, one second. And then I can add screens like, what kind of screens can be, should be visible, and what kind of fields should be there, all the field configurations, project mappings, and most importantly, components and versions can be added. So if this project has admin component, I can add that. If it has dealer, or sometimes the components can be based on what layer you're testing. Like for database you're testing, that can be a component. If it's a UI you're testing, that can be a component. So you can create components as you see fit. Then you can also add versions. So the versions can be, version 1 will be first file requirements, and the start date is, let's say, starts today. Some random dates. So you can create versions like that. You can merge these versions and all that. So when you come back to the overview and look at the version information, it will show you here. If you look at it in a calendar version, in a calendar format, it will show you when the issues are due. I mean, when the versions are due. So on 9th one is due, and on 31st another is due. So that way you can actually create a project. Next is user creation. Any questions, team? Are you all with me so far? Okay, cool. So creating of an issue is when you go into the administration tab and you choose user management. Here, as I was saying, you can create a user, you can invite new users. I don't know about the Google Apps. It is new. I'm yet to explore this option. But I think it helps you, bring in all the people from your contact list or something. Again, I'm not sure, as I was saying. So in the create user, you could just provide a username, provide their email address. Either you can send a link so that user can set their own password, or you can set their password for them, and you can create a user. So this is how you can create a user. You can edit them, you can change their password, you can add them to groups. So groups is nothing but, there are lots of groups inside JIRA based on which, the access permissions are set. Say for example, let me add this group and then I'll show you. So there are these different user groups. So administrators can grant access to all of them. JIRA developers can actually, change the statuses. JIRA users can only view things. So different groups will have different access permissions, and the administrator can actually, manipulate that, create a new group, remove a group. All of those things are also possible by the administrator. And then there is the other issues, like the system related issues, where the look and feel of the application can be set, the email client on when email is going to go, how is it going to go, all that can be configured by the administrator. So these are the three main elements of JIRA administration, and for that matter even QC administrators have similar roles and responsibilities. Bugzilla administrators have similar roles and responsibilities. All administrators will have similar tasks. It's just that in JIRA it is easier to see and explain, so that's why I thought it's a good opportunity to introduce you all to that. Any questions? All right. So if there are no questions, I'll quickly show you what is in Agile. Now, as Amelia was asking me, can it be used to manage a testing project? The answer is yes, if it is an Agile project, because in Agile you don't have the test cases, you don't have a lot of documentation. All you need to know is if a user story, is it being worked on or not, is it being tested or not, finally is it done or not. So these are the only things that we look at in Agile. So in Agile what you can do is you can actually create Agile board for any of your projects. So let me start creating one. So what I'm creating here is a Scrum board, and I'm using the SGH project to create that. So what it does is it will show me all the issues that are under this project. So all the issues are under this project, it is going to treat them as individual user stories, and this is part of my backlog. Backlog is nothing but a list of all the user stories. Now here I can create a sprint. So in my sprint I can choose which backlog issues will go into it. So I can choose both, and here I can prioritize them simply by dragging and dropping in an order that I see fit. So once I'm done with that, I'll do what I call the plan sprint. So plan sprint, as you can see, it took it from the current day to the next 2 weeks. If you are okay with that selection, you can keep it as it is, or you can actually change the dates. So when I say okay, now you see initially it was in the plan mode when I was when the issues were in the backlog, when I was adding to the sprint list, it was in the plan mode. But once I started the sprint, it is in the work mode. So in the work mode, if you see, there is to do and in progress bucket. So if you remember the Scrum board we saw in the initial classes, I'll show you that quickly one more time. This one. So there was a sprint backlog, then there's a work in progress, and then there's the done. So we are done with the sprint backlog section. So if you're assuming that this is the entire QA project, all of these are requirements, then we are actually managing them through this JIRA thing. So we have assigned them into sprints. We have actually, started the sprint, which means all the sprint backlog is finalized. Now from the to do, we are moving it into in progress. From the in progress, once we are done with it, that means if the status says, if you set the status to all done, then you'll be, set it to a done bucket. And then you can report and generate all of these graphs pertaining to Agile. So if you are talking about a a testing project management in an Agile world using JIRA, that is doable. However, you need to get an Agile add-in, otherwise this option is not going to be there. But you're right to say, it is not a core testing tool, because it does not help us with any of the other activities except for defect tracking and miscellaneous activity tracking. Make sense? Let's actually get this done and move it to just a minute, team. Let's get work done on it and we'll see how that affects the board. So you see that is being, marked off as if, that work is all complete. So you can move this to in progress and you can, finish that and it will also be complete. So that's how you would normally manage an Agile project. So that's all we have, planned to cover in JIRA. So this is a quick overview. There is a 6-part tutorial on our website if you want to check it out and, learn JIRA. There's a lot of, but I must warn you that tutorial in the current situation feels a little old because JIRA has undergone a lot of changes in the recent times, but still that can be a good reference definitely. Any questions, anything that you want to see one more time, please let me know. So what is your general impression of JIRA? Do you think this is useful? Well, I'm glad you think that. It is useful. Lots of companies use it. I mean, JIRA's reach is very, very wide. One of the reasons being that it is very old, maybe from 2005 or something I've been using this. So it's really old. It has undergone a lot of transformation. And it still continues to be as famous as used to be as it used to be back then. So it's a tool that is worth investing our time in. And when you learn JIRA and the Agile management using JIRA, similar tools like this become a piece of cake to use. Like similar tools in the sense Rally is a similar tool. HP Agile Manager is a similar tool. So all of these similar tools will have similar features. So once you learn JIRA, using the other tools will become an easy part. And also if you see, we almost finished a discussion on this in a matter of an hour. So if you sit for like 3 to 4 hours, you can really learn this tool in and out completely. So this is something that you will learn in next to nothing, like in terms of time investment. But then this will definitely be very, very useful in bulking up your resume and adding that much needed, keywords to your resume. And what are keywords? We'll talk about resumes and everything tomorrow, hopefully, if we have enough time. So this is a great way to add, write your resume on a skill-based level rather than on experience-based level. So it's definitely worth exploring. With today's email, I'll send you all a sample ID and a password that you can all use to practice JIRA for the next few days. So for some reason, if at a later point of time, if the JIRA license expires or something, just send me an email and I'll give you a new ID. because with each batch I'd like to keep the IDs fresh. So in that process, sometimes few IDs don't work at a later point of time, but that's okay. We will always give you another ID to work with. Um, well, that's all I have. We can take any questions or, any topic that you want to discuss today. We do have a lot of time. So while you all think about your questions, I'll talk about maintenance and operation testing, is it? Operational testing. QC, I'll send you a recorded version because we used to have the QC class, Sohini, but we ran into a lot of issues with that because QC has a SaaS version, that means, the cloud version, but it's not very effective. So if we had to get the real QC, the installation is a problem. We couldn't give sample IDs for practice, and the license cost frankly was going really out of our reach. So we kind of discontinued teaching QC in the class. However, we have one of the recorded sessions from when we used to teach it back then. So I'll forward that to you so you can just take a look at it and see. But you will not feel the lack of not doing QC in the class because we will do a similar tool like that, which is QTest tomorrow. So once you learn QTest, it will be very easy to learn QC also. In any case, you have a recorded video reference. So I hope that helps really. Now, maintenance testing is basically to determine how easy is a software to maintain. Now, this is not something that, we will be doing it like, real-time testers would be doing. But maintenance testing would be like, how far is it? How far is a, software system? How far can we expand it if we need to in the future? How easy is it to integrate with something else? So all of these kind of things are checked in maintenance testing. Honestly, I have never done this, but I'm assuming those are the things that go into maintenance testing. Or do you have a context where you have come across these? Okay, sure. So maintenance testing also is, now that I think of it, it's making more sense. See, sometimes software systems are in existence for a lot of time, correct? They're for few years at a time. And during that time, if for some reason any change has to be made to them, then they would undergo something called a maintenance on it. Let's say a certain feature is not working or a certain new image has to be put in. Say for example, software testing help is using this logo right now, but we change the logo, we change the look, we change the whole marketing strategy someday, then we will have to go ahead and change this logo on everything that it appears. So that's a sort of maintenance that I'm doing. So the testing that follows normally after you make any change to an application that's already in live and running, that kind of testing we normally call it regression testing. Yes, exactly. The sentence you mentioned is also the same. Maintenance testing often includes testing that no new defects have been introduced during development of the changes. So while I'm doing the banner, ID or the banner image changes, I just want to following that make sure that no changes, I mean nothing bad has happened to my software and that it is still functional and all. So in other words, maintenance testing is basically regression testing, except that maintenance testing happens on applications that have been already live and have few minor tweaks going on from time to time. So it is a form of regression testing. So operational testing is a form of actually see, operational testing is, sometimes, not sometimes, I mean, when software goes live, it has its own operational environment, correct? It works in certain set of targets like a Windows application, whatever it might be. So when you are performing the acceptance testing UAT in that particular operational conditions, then it is called the operational testing. So operational testing is a form of acceptance testing, but it is specific to when it is conducted in terms of the environment as simulated real environment as possible. When it is conducted in an environment like that, then it's called an operational testing. Don't worry about this kind of definitions. Of course, it's not a bad thing to learn them, but the more we try to classify, the more intricate things become, and the more complicated things become. The need to remember things will take over the need to understand things. So try not to get there. It's always a good idea to understand, not just remember them. And when things are too many, the remembering thing takes over. So yeah, but that's what these things mean. Any other questions, team? Sure, Tina, no problem at all. So Emilio, is it clear on how projects can be maintained with JIRA? But then I do agree with your point of view. It is not it's not really possible to do an end-to-end testing sort of a thing with JIRA. That's not possible though. Yes, and then the graphs and all that is also pretty comprehensive in JIRA. The reports, all the reports that can be generated. Of course, we don't have enough information right now, enough data here to generate reports. But when you are actually using this software to create your issues and all, try to generate some reports. I mean, they are pretty good. Tina's question is, can you tell how debugging is different from testing? Yes. See, debugging is, again, literally, debugging is just debugging, which means you're trying to remove the bug. Testing is to identify the bug, not trying to remove the bug. So debugging is an activity that follows identification of a testing. Debugging is normally done by the developers when they're trying to figure out where the bug exists and how they can eliminate it. So it does not fall at all into the realm of testing. It's something that is an activity that follows identification of a bug. Make sense? However, I think there are other tools that are more comprehensive. Yes, that is true. And one tool we will see tomorrow in the class, which is Q-Test. It is very, very comprehensive for managing all activities related to testing. So in that tool, you can actually start from creating your requirements, establishing traceability, writing test cases, everything you can do in that tool. So in fact, that tool is similar to QC. So if you were to use QC, you can actually create test cases and all that also. So yes, there are tools like that. I do agree with that opinion. What is the name of the tool? It's QA Symphony. The company is QA Symphonies, and the tool name is Q-Test. No problem. Any other questions, team? Today, I think if we don't have any questions, that's all I have planned from my end. Because as I said, I don't want to cram too many tools into one day. And since this is a tool week, that's all we have now, right now. Now, I also wanted to ask you all, tomorrow, do you want to go with automation, or do you want to go with another tool? Which topic do you want to discuss? Q-Test and then automation. So I'm seeing a mixed response. Yes, QTP and automation is one thing. Q-Test and automation introduction, we won't be able to finish that in one day. Okay, I think there is a mixed opinion, so I'll just okay. Okay, then we'll just follow. I mean, normally if we follow the Q test, Q test is what follows normally. So I think we'll do the same thing with this batch as well. And tomorrow I also want to take some time and discuss how to write resumes, because tomorrow is the last weekend we have for the course of this class. So for those of you who want to get a head start on preparing resumes, I think the next week's downtime, the weekend, that can be useful, and I want to give you all few inputs and let you explore that option if you want to. So tomorrow we'll do a Q test, and then followed by that we'll do a little bit of how to write your resumes effectively and all that. And on Monday we'll spend the entire day on automation, and Tuesday we'll have an interview guidance session. So that should conclude the entire batch. So next week we'll only have 2 classes as opposed to being 3. But as I was saying, this week we do have some downtime. So if you have any questions, if you have any topics, bring it to the class, and we can definitely discuss them. So tomorrow I'll send out the link to the QC recorded session, so you can take a look at that as well. So today I'll send out practice ID. I'll send out the link to the tutorials that we have on JIRA. And if there's nothing else, we can sign off for today. But I'll hang around for 5 to 10 minutes just in case you have any questions. Traceability matrix is something that you will create in order to check from time to time if we are following the 100% test coverage rule or not. So traceability matrix is not a deliverable, and traceability matrix is a tool for checking purposes. So this does not have a lot of use value, so you're just going to use it to check whether or not you're following the 100% test coverage rule. And traceability matrix is a combined effort by the entire team. So anytime, just the case with debugging or any other terms, try to look at what a technical term means, like literally. So when we talk about matrix is a row column combination, or in simple words, it's a table. And that is a traceability matrix, following that definition, is a table that helps us establish a trace from step to step in our testing process. So traceability matrix starts at wherever your reference is. So if you have a BRD and FRD, or if you have a use cases or whatever it might be, you will write all your references, then the testing documents. We create test scenarios, test cases, and you can expand this to include status and the respective defects also. But these were the columns that you can include in the execution phase, not right now. So if in BRD section 1 is talking about new user creation, for example, and in the FRD, this will be elaborated in 2.1 section as positive outcome related requirements, 2.2 negative outcome related requirements. So for each of them you would write your test scenarios. You would write TS underscore, whatever it is, user creation underscore 01. So you write all your test scenarios pertaining test cases. Right? So this tool is for us to check that every requirement has been addressed, every BRD requirement has been addressed in the FRD, and every FRD requirement has been addressed in the test scenarios or test cases. So this is for us to check. So for some reason, if let's say this column is filled but this is not, this is empty, so this will give us an indication that the testers have not considered checking this particular requirement, which means there are gaps in our test cases which we have to fill. So the gap means that we are deviating from the 100% test coverage rule, and traceability matrix helps us keep on track with that. Now, traceability matrix, a good idea to, a good time to prepare this would be after the test design phase is complete. Otherwise, see, these are the raw material for us to prepare. We need the test scenario IDs, test case IDs. If you don't have them, you will not be able to write the traceability matrix. And when would you have them? Once the test design phase is complete. So these are briefly the details of a traceability matrix. Let me know if you need any further elaboration. Emilio says, when you say not deliverable, you mean deliverable especially to the client, or a document that does not require to be sent out of the QA team? It is a document that is not required to be sent out of the QA team. That's what I mean. See, when you look at this, is this document an input to a BA or a development team or a QA team in any way? No. In fact, when you write IDs like this, it is not going to make any sense outside the QA team. So this is not a document that is useful to anybody except the QA team. So it's not a deliverable at all. Deepti's question is, how long are the video recordings available? Indefinitely. However, for some reason, if you're not able to access the videos after the course is completed, the best person to reach out is Vijay, not me, because he's the administrator and he takes care of this. While the course is in progress, yes, definitely I'm the person who will address that concern. But once it's done, it is usually Vijay. Okay, so examples of exploratory testing in the context of Agile. See, in Agile, there is sometimes only exploratory testing. So exploratory testing it does not differ in the way it is performed, whether it is Agile or whether it is waterfall. So exploratory testing is simply this. So let's say I got JIRA software today. I have to test JIRA. So exploratory testing simply means I'll create a new board. I'll see what happens in getting started. In fact, in Agile, there might be more than normal is all, but exploratory testing is the same. There is no special, there is no difference in the way it works. So it's just about playing with the system randomly, figuring out, how things are working, if something's not right, all of that. Sohini's question is, can the videos be downloaded? No, because they are the SDH's intellectual property and we only allow them on a streaming basis. Of course, if you want to record over the recording, then we cannot stop that. But from our end, we try to restrict that. I have a doubt in this example. Positive and negative outcome related requirements. Are they really requirements? Are they more kind of test scenarios? No, usually in FRD this kind of separation might not be there. I'm just giving you an idea that this is how sections might be broken down. So no, these are still requirements. Like for example, the user info is not more than 3 clicks away. So at this point it's still a requirement, not a scenario basically. Right? Dipti, what is the best way to contact Vijay, his email ID? Or you can just go to our softwaretestinghelp.org page, and then if you just say contact us, the emails are directly sent to Vijay. No problem. Anything else, team? All right, then I'm going to stop the recording and